Hello everybody, here is your video tutorial for this block of vocab words. Remember, I want to clarify that you need to write your own example sentence when you write the example sentence. You cannot paste an example sentence from a website. The reason for that is if you just paste an example sentence from a random website, even if it accurately uses the word, it doesn't show me that you know how to effectively use the word yourself, right? So you can go to a dictionary, find an example sentence that has the word procure in it, but if you're just pasting an example sentence from a website, then I cannot assess accurately if you know how to use the word procure. So you can copy and paste a definition, that's fine. But you must write your own example sentence to prove that you know how to use the word. So to procure, as you'll see, means to obtain something. If you procure something, then you get it. You intentionally obtain it. So an example may be, I will procure tickets to the concert by paying someone $50 a ticket for this ticket to a really good concert. I procured the tickets by paying someone for them. Number 2, exacerbate. If something is exacerbated, then it is made worse or made more extreme. So, for example, you might say, my toothache was only exacerbated by the rusty pair of pliers. You might also say, the coronavirus pandemic will only be exacerbated if people do not wear masks. Number 3, tyranny. Tyranny is unfair, oppressive rule by a government. It is unfair and oppressive rule of a government. So an example of tyranny might be the American colonists viewed Great Britain as tyrannous before the American Revolution. You might say that if a government imposes, to use a vocab word from last week, if a government imposes its will on the people without the people saying that it's okay and supporting the government, then that government would be committing tyranny. Number 4, propaganda. Propaganda is information that is misleading and intentionally one-sided. Propaganda is information that is misleading and intentionally one-sided. It might not be false, right? It might not be fake news, but propaganda is trying to manipulate people. So, for example, Squealer, pretty much everything Squealer says is propaganda. Right? Again, propaganda might include fake news, but it doesn't need to be fake news to be propaganda. For something to be propaganda, it just needs to be one-sided and manipulating people. So your example sentence might say, when Squealer tries to convince the animals that Napoleon is a wise, strong leader, Squealer is spreading propaganda, because what Squealer says is one-sided and manipulative. Number 5, consensus. A consensus is an agreement between people. So, for example, you might say, all of the members of Congress reached a consensus, and they all decided to vote yes to pass this law. They all voted the same way because they reached a consensus or an agreement. Number 6, caricature. A caricature is it is like a satire of a person. So let me show you what the dictionary definition is. Caricature. It's like a satire of a person. Yeah, it's a picture, description, or imitation of a person in which certain characteristics are exaggerated in order to make fun of the person. Yeah, so an example would be Napoleon is a caricature of Joseph Stalin. Right? Napoleon in Animal Farm is a caricature of the Russian dictator Joseph Stalin. Number 7, aspect. An aspect of something is a part of it or an element of it. So you might say one aspect of English class is writing essays. Another aspect of English class is learning vocabulary words. Number 8, rational. If something is rational, then it is reasonable and logical. Right? It is both reasonable and logical if it is rational. So for example, you might say because the judge was a fair, reasonable person, the judge made a rational decision in the court case. You might also say that if a poisonous spider tries to bite you, it is only rational to run away from the poisonous spider. Number 9, docile. Docile means like meek, helpless, and like someone or something that is docile, like is not going to think for itself or pose any threat to anyone. So an example would be you might say the sheep in Animal Farm are docile, and they're able to be easily persuaded by Squealer or to support Napoleon. And number 10, espouse. Espouse means if you espouse a belief, then you share the belief with other people. This does not mean the same thing as spouse. Espouse or espouse means to share your beliefs. So for example, when the sheep in Animal Farm say 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, they are espousing their belief that animals are better than people. I just helped you write an example sentence for every one of these, so I expect to see your own sentences. You can even write the ones that I told you right now, because at least that shows your understanding of what the words mean and how you might use the words outside of class. See you soon.